Hey everyone, hopefully you can hear this coming through loud and clear. I can see these little green bars jumping up and down on my screen, so that's telling me that the sound's coming out. So hopefully you can hear me as well. So if anybody in the chat room, I know there's a few of you there already, if you could just give us a shout out saying that you can hear me, that would be brilliant. At least we know that technical side of things is working okay. And also what I need to say is, if you're not watching this live, on Tuesday, the 21st of November at 8 PM UK time, jump forward roughly 4 minutes and 25 seconds. You do not need to sit and watch this countdown timer. Cheers, Kian. Thanks for that. Good to know the sound's coming through. I'll tell you what, this really does test the multitasking to the limit. It really does. Just need to make sure as well that we don't have any echoes going on. So if you can let me know if there's any echoes, that'd be good. Andy, how you doing? David Parry, so brilliant, mate. Thanks very much for coming along. I don't know if I've bitten off more than I can chew with tonight. This is a huge topic. Those of you who obviously do all this kind of stuff as well know that colour and printing is one heck of a topic. If anybody's ever going to have an opinion on something, it's going to be this. But all I'm going to do is literally just show you how I get the very best results from my printing. I am so happy with printing now that I'm getting back from the lab that I use. It is pretty much bang on, absolutely bang on. So I've never been happier. I'm not wasting any money now, which is always a bonus. Those of you who know Echo, cheers for that, Annette. Those of you who've tuning in for the first time on these live broadcasts, obviously we can see this countdown timer coming. When it gets to 30 seconds, you should start to hear a little bit of music kind of starting, and that'll get louder as we get down towards like the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then it'll kick off, and then we should, all being well, if I remember to press the right buttons and turn the right dials, we should be up and running live. So I don't know how long it's going to take tonight. I don't intend to go on for too long because it's a heavy subject. It's going to be pretty straightforward, hopefully, and fingers crossed this is going to really help those of you who are having a few problems when it comes to your printing. But I'll keep diving in and out. We've got 2 minutes 42 seconds I make it. I'll keep diving in and out while I'm just kind of still practicing, still reading, still rehearsing, but I'll be back with you before we get to that 30-second countdown timer. But I shall keep an eye on the chat room as well, but I'll be back in a mo. The person asking about the cat, if she's off the chair, yes. She wasn't happy, but yes, she's off the chair. Folks, while we've still got just under 2 minutes to go, if you wouldn't mind possibly, please, pretty please doing the usual, just send out a message on any of your social media platforms. Let them know what you're doing here. This does get uploaded afterwards once YouTube have got round to doing it. But if you could just let people know the link to this YouTube live, I'd really appreciate it. It's always nice to know there's plenty of company. Right, we've got a minute and a half. I shall be back in a mo. David Brown, Santa is a good man. Great to know the book's arrived. Which one is it, mate? Is it the Photograph Like a Thief or the Photoshop Workbook one? Mick, thanks a lot, mate. Thanks for coming along. Daniel, yes, just a tiny bit, but more to come tomorrow. I've obviously missed the start of the conversation there. Right, you should start to hear some music building up. Oh my God, this is when I get really nervous. 20 seconds to go. There'll be a quick advert at the end of this and then we'll crack on. So hopefully all will go well. Stuart, I don't think you've got my mobile number. It's on my website. If anything's going wrong and I don't know it, call me. All right, mate? See you there. Hi folks, Glyn here, just to remind you that if you haven't already, make sure you click on the subscribe button on my YouTube channel and also click the bell icon and tick in the notifications checkbox so that you'll never miss any of the live broadcasts. That's just a great and free way of showing you like the channel. Also, over on my website at glindewis.com, click on the newsletter menu item to join my email group and download your free ebook called How to Develop Your Style. Fill in your email address, first name and family name, and then click on the subscribe button. And finally, add me in and connect over on Instagram by finding me with the username @glindewis. Oh, nearly forgot to turn the microphone on. Hi everybody, thanks for coming along tonight. We've got a bit of a YouTube broadcast going on tonight where I'm going to be going through printing. Now, I've been chatting to folks over in the chat room for the last 5 minutes or so as it was building up to this. Just to let you know, this is printing is one of those topics. Printing and colour is one of those topics where everybody's got an opinion on it. There's always a right way and a wrong way. All I want to do tonight is just show you the way that I've got that works. Okay, there will be other ways. I'm going to explain some of the terminology as we go through it. I've no idea how long this is going to go on for. I don't intend it to be too long because there's going to be a lot to take in. But hopefully, fingers crossed, the information we go through is going to really help you with this. But first things first, I just need to let you know this. This is not a paid advertisement, okay? There will be a couple of companies that I'll mention, the printing lab that I use, and also the brand of monitor that I use. Just bear with me, okay? They're what I use. You use what you want to use, if that makes sense. All right, just to let you know, I can see I've got all these kind of screens all over the place. I am going to try my best to monitor the chat room. I'll more than likely answer any questions unless they're really pressing. I'll wait till the very end when the actual broadcast closes. I hang around in the chat room afterwards to go through those. But just so you know, my friend Stuart Wood, he is the doorman tonight. He is the moderator in the chat room. So he's the one that will be booting people out if there's any foul language. All right, we've had it before. So Stuart, thanks very much for kind of volunteering to do that. All right, okay. So without ado, then I can see there's a few of you in there. This could be something that is going to be bugging people. But if you're anything like me, from when I first started off in this whole industry, even before I got into business, when I got my first computer and I wanted to print things out, I had my printer at home, and I honestly could not tell you how much money I have lost and wasted and how much time I have wasted trying to get prints looking anywhere near they do when they're on the screen and I have them in my hand. It's just one of those kind of areas in this business that you think, how on earth do you do that? So I want to kind of show you through how you can do it. I did on the actual on the thumbnail to this, I said I was only going to show it in Lightroom. I appreciate there may be some of you who don't use Lightroom, so we'll also cover it in Photoshop as well. But I've got my notes, got me a few things here that I want to go through. I can see some questions here saying which printer do you use. I don't print at home now. Who is that? Nigel. I do not print at home now because I've just lost so much of that. I send it away to a lab, and I'll cover that in a moment, but I use Loxley Colour, who are based up in Scotland. Lots of reasons why, not because I get paid. All right. Okay, so let's just dive straight in there. Now, although we're going to go through how you can get your prints to look damn good compared to how they look on the screen, I'm going to preface that with the fact that it is impossible, virtually impossible, to get your picture that you see on screen to look exactly the same in a print, either on paper or on metal. All right, now that might sound like a really weird thing to say when tonight I've said we're doing a broadcast to show you how you can do that. You never will get it to be exact. However, it might just be slightly off, and so slightly off that you can't really see it. And if that's the case, then who cares? But there's 3 reasons why people like myself and maybe people like you have struggled to get your prints to look as good as possible on print compared to how they do on the screen. I've written it down here. So 3 reasons why. The first one is a pretty obvious one, and that is that you are viewing your pictures, first of all, on a screen. Your computer screen is luminous. It generates light. Now your prints that you actually have and hold in your hand, they're reflective. Just that alone means they're going to look different. So that's one reason they always look different. Another reason is the viewing conditions. Now I think I've got a little video to show you the calibrator that I used, but the viewing conditions is also a really, really important one. Now the room that I'm in at the moment, this is the office where I do all my kind of retouching, and you can see hopefully the light. I look a bit yellow on that there, but you can see that the light here is I can't even get the color. The light in this room is a daylight balanced bulb. Okay, so it's pure beautiful white light. There's no kind of color cast coming from it, so that's one thing. Also, the monitor that I've got that I work on has got a monitor hood, and what that does is it comes, I'll show you in a short while, it comes away from the screen so that the actual screen itself is recessed back inside this kind of hood. And what that does is it stops any light or any kind of anything basically kind of going onto the screen and kind of contaminating the colors, so that it's going to trick you to thinking you've got colors that you haven't, or the picture is brighter or darker than what it really is. So that's another reason. And the third reason, there are going to be many more reasons, but the third reason as well is what they call gamut. Okay, now that sounds a bit of a strange word, but basically when you're sending a picture that you've got on screen to either your own printer or maybe a laboratory that I do, send it away to a laboratory, there'll be certain colors because of the ink that's being used and the paper or the medium like metal. That combined, it means that there'll be certain colors that they just simply cannot reproduce. Okay, so it's what they call out of gamut, out of their range of colors that they can produce. Now as we go through this soft proofing, I'm going to show you one way that you can maybe combat that or kind of deal with it in the best way possible to get the best results. So hopefully that will start us off. But the first things first, all of this sounds good, but none of it is going to be any use to you at all unless your screen is calibrated. All right, so let me just grab this down here. I guess I'm probably preaching to the converted here, because you probably all got one of these anyway, or a similar one. But this is here, I've got this one. This is called by a company called X-Rite, and it's i1 Display Pro. Don't get paid for showing you this, but this is an essential piece of kit. And this is what it looks like when it's kind of out of the box, and this kind of swivels around here. Got a bit of a weight on it. Now this little video, I'll just play you that while I'm talking as well. So you can see here, you can see this is the screen that I mentioned about, my BenQ screen. It's a 32-inch screen, and you can just see that hood going around it to shield it from the light. On the top here is a little hatch that it's got in the top where you can drop down that little profile that I've just showed you. That goes down, close the hood so no light comes in through the top. And then you use the software that comes with the monitor, and not the software that comes with the actual profiler, but the software that comes with the monitor. And you can very quickly, I've speeded that up there, you can see how it's kind of rattling through all those colors there to actually do the calibration. Okay, so just to clarify, with this thing here, they do come with their own software, but the advice I was given was to always use the software that comes with the monitor. Now, I use BenQ monitors, BenQ or BenQ, I don't know how you pronounce it actually, and they've got a thing called Palette Master, and I have never had my colors on my screen to be exact. Now, one thing I will say as well is I am not a color expert. Okay, I'm not an expert in color whatsoever. I've learned a lot from friends who know a heck of a lot more. One person in particular who really knows his stuff, I don't know about the printing side, but certainly the color calibration of your monitor, is a good friend of mine called Frank Dorhoff. Now I'm going to put a link to the video that he's got on his channel. I'll put in the description part that leads you through how you can properly calibrate your monitor. And in fact, I think I've written down here, there's some settings that you should put in to your calibration software to make sure that what you're going to get, the result on your screen, looks absolutely perfect. You shouldn't just let it run automatically with the default numbers. There's a couple of little magic numbers in there. I'll put those in the description. They're also in Frank's video. And again, I've used those on Frank's advice, and I just could not be happier. All right, so that's the first couple of things there. So Nick Bayliss, does the BenQ monitor have audio? My mate Alex has answered it. No, it doesn't. I've got external monitors for it. It does have a little SD card slot that you can put your SD cards in as well, which is a really, really handy thing. Okay, so that's the first thing then. So you must have your screen calibrated, because the rest of it means nothing if that's not the case. Right, so now let me dive over. Let's jump over to Lightroom. There we go. All right, now I might actually get rid of myself on the bottom right-hand corner there because it looks a little bit distracting. Okay. Oh, no, hold on a second. No, first things first. Soft proofing. What is soft proofing? Right. What I used to do was, and people still do this, people like in fashion houses where they do lots of prints and stuff like that, what they'll do is they'll send off to the printers, or actually on their own printer, they'll do a proof print, okay? And that could be a long sheet of paper with lots of pictures all over it. That'll come off the printer, they'll look at it and go, right, how does that compare to what we have on the screen? And then they'll kind of mark up on it what needs to be done to make it look as good as possible. And that's similar to what I used to do. What I used to do, you can see an example of it here. Here's two prints that are of the same thing, but slightly different tint on them. What I used to do before sending off for a big print was just get the smallest possible version of it. Maybe, let's say something like a 6x4. And I would send that off to Loxley for printing with no adjustments to it whatsoever. When that came back, I would then have the print in my hand and I'd have my monitor and I'd literally do this. I'd have the print in one hand and I'd be looking between the two. How does it compare? Now, a lot of times, because my screen was calibrated, the colors would be absolutely perfect. The problem was the brightness. The prints would come out darker than what I would see on the screen. So what I would then do, I would create either an action or a preset in Lightroom where I would adjust the brightness to compensate. So I would do 3 virtual copies in Lightroom. I would adjust the exposure by a little bit on one of them. On the other one, I'd increase it a little bit more. And on the third one, I'd increase it a little bit more again. Then I would export them into a folder and I would just put down exposure 10, exposure 20, exposure 30, or something like that. So when they go to Loxley and they come back, then when I hold the print up that looks the closest one to what's on the screen, I look at the back of it and there, printed across the back, it says the name of the file, exposure 20. So I then know that if I'm going to send something to Loxley, I just apply the preset that I called exposure 20 and away you go. And that's a kind of a long-winded way of doing it. Loxley do actually offer you test prints as well, which is really, really handy. But now we're obviously in the digital age, things should be made a lot easier, and that's where soft proofing comes in. So again, let me just dive over into Lightroom. And in fact, I am going to disappear from the screen just so you can see everything just there. So I'll just turn off me. There we go. Cool. Right. So let's just say then that I want to print out this particular picture here. This is an old picture that I did a few years ago now, just so that you know it's a composite. The wardrobe that they're stood in front of these little girls was about 4 inches tall. The girls are full size and it's created a composite. But let's just say that I want to print this out, but I need to make sure that it's going to print out correctly. So rather than me sending off for a sample print, I'm going to use soft proofing. Now, you get your picture open in Lightroom and you go to the develop module. And that's where you can see on the right hand side all the adjustments that you can make. But also when you're in the develop module at the very bottom, let me just zoom in. You can see here it says soft proofing. Okay, this is what we're going to use. So the way we do it is this. I'm first of all going to put a little tick where it says soft proofing. Now you get this kind of like brighter background now in your pictures, which tells you that you are now in the soft proofing mode. Once you've done that, on the bottom left hand side, again I'll zoom in for you, you can see where we've got this where it says Y and Y. That's where we can have like a before and after view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose here before and after. So the before image is on the left, the after image is on the right, but I'm then going to come up to the top right hand corner. I'm trying to take this nice and steady. When we click on soft proofing, the top right hand corner of the screen changes. So now when I zoom in, can you see how let's just try and bring that across. Can you see where it says create proof copy? Okay, so this is really important. So what we're going to do is this. I'm going to click where it says create proof copy. So now at the top of the screen, you can see that it says copy on the left and proof preview on the right. The right hand side image is the one that is going to go to the printers. Now over on the right hand side as well, I've got this little drop down menu where there's loads of different choices of paper that I can use. Now this is where you would install Let's say if you're just using, let me just bring me back just for a second. Where are we? Let's just come back to there. When you are using either your own printer with a paper that you've purchased, or maybe if you're using a reputable laboratory, you'll be able to get off those something called Icc Profiles. These are basically files that you can put into your computer that replicate, or simulate rather, the look of the paper that you're going to use to print your images on. So when you install those into your computer and you view your pictures with that profile, Lightroom and Photoshop try to give you a simulation of what you would expect to get. Now, if I dive over to Loxley's website, which is just here, when I go to Loxley's website, if I look where it says software and support, this is an example of where their stuff is. So we go color management, and then we've got soft proofing. And if I scroll down, there's just a little bit just here. If I just zoom in on that, it says download our print profiles. And when you click on that, that then gives you a list, you can see on the screen there, a list of all the papers and the mediums, the metals that they use, the woods, the materials that they print on. And over on the right hand side are the name of the profiles that you can download that will then simulate the look of that particular paper. Now, if you're using Epson papers or anything like that, you can actually go to the Epson website, download the profiles as well. Okay, so that's that. So you download them, and then you install them. And if here is where you install them. So just show you this. This is where you install them. Okay, so if you're on a Windows machine, go to your C drive, Windows, System 32, Spool, drivers, color, and then just drop them in there. Once you've downloaded them, drag and drop them into there. Sometimes you may find that you can actually just double click on them, and it will automatically install them in the correct place. But if you're on Mac, go to the Macintosh drive, library, Colorsync, profiles, and drop them in there as well. All right, so once you've done that, then when you're using Lightroom or Photoshop, which I'll show you in a short while, when you're using it, once you're in the soft proofing mode, because you've clicked it in the bottom left down here, the top right hand corner now, you'll be able to choose the papers that you want. Now, if you don't see the paper that you want, there's a little one just here that says other. Okay, so click where it says, let's just come out of there. Oh my lordy lord, there we go. If you click on other, it will then bring up this little dialog box here which shows you all the ones that you've got installed on your computer. All you need to do is just put a little tick in the little checkbox to the left hand side of it, click OK, and then it will put them all in that drop down menu. So right, I want to show you this now then. Just try and take this nice and steady. I'm going to zoom in just for a second. In fact, we'll just go to let's go to fit fill. There we go. All right, so remember, left hand side of the screen is what I've got on my computer. Right hand side of the screen is what's going to what it will look like if I send it to the printers. So let's just say then, from the right hand side over here, I'm going to choose one of these papers. Keep an eye on the picture on the right hand side. All right, so let's just choose one of these pictures here. So we'll go for metallic. No real change there whatsoever. So that would tell us, as there's no change, what we've got is going to be pretty much bang on. We've got a calibrated screen. We've checked it on the paper. That's good to go. You're not going to get much of a change there. But you will notice, because of the ink that you're using or the lab is using and the different papers, it's going to make things look a little bit different. So let's just have a look at, let's say, Loxley Colours Fine Art Cotton. Now, did you see that? Let's just try, might just try and zoom in just a little bit more. Right, let's just go back. I'll go back to this one here, Loxley Colour Lust and Gloss. It looks quite good there. Now keep an eye on the one on the right hand side. In fact, I'm going to disappear so you can see this a little clearer. Keep an eye on the picture on the right hand side just here. So again, I'm going to go back. I'm going to choose this one here, Loxley Colour Fine Art Colour. Now watch how it kind of drops. The colour becomes less saturated, it becomes a lot flatter. Bang, do you see that? It's really subtle. In fact, you can really tell as well if you look at the histogram. Keep an eye on the histogram here. So here we go for luster and gloss, looks pretty good. Now look, when we go to this one here, Fine Art Cotton, bang. Can you see how it's gone away from the left-hand side? So the blacks have really reduced in the picture. So once you're at this stage, now let's just go to where it says fill. Once it's at this stage, let's just bring me back. I'm hoping you're keeping up with me here. Once it's at this stage, now you can start making adjustments, okay? Because you now know that if you send your picture as it is without any adjustments, when it comes back from the printers or out of your printer, it's going to look like the one on the right hand side. And in this case, it went a lot flatter. The blacks were reduced. It just had no life into it. You know that's going to happen. So what you're going to do now is you're going to do some settings and some changes to that picture on the right hand side to overcompensate for what the printing process is going to do. All right, so that's when you would then come in and you keep an eye on the picture on the right hand side, and what you want to do is, and this is what's good about having it as a before and after, you're going to then start looking at the picture on the right and comparing it to the one on the left and making adjustments to try to get them to look pretty damn close. That's when you know you're okay to send it away. So that's what you do then. So you can see now, if I make some changes here, you can see that it's only changing the one on the right hand side. Now this one here got a little bit flat, so I might want to maybe increase the blacks just a little bit so that then the two of them side by side look pretty good. The one on the right hand side, if I was just going to look at the screen, is a little bit too much, but I know now that when I send it to the printers, that printing process is going to affect it. But because I've over processed it, that's going to compensate for what the printing process will do. It'll then come back and it'll look exactly how I want it to do. Does that make sense? I'm really hoping this is making sense. Stephen thought, Glyn, shouldn't you switch on simulate paper and ink? Now that's an interesting point there. Good point. I'm coming to that. Nice one. Okay, so you also have a few other options in here as well. And this is what I want to explain to you. Let me just zoom in a little bit more on this one so we can see what I'm talking about. So you can see here we've got, if I kind of point up, there's one thing called simulate paper and ink, and then you've got two words there, perceptual and relative, and that's when it gets a little bit, what the hell is all that about? So let me just explain these two things. Let's just escape out of there. Now, simulate ink, what you can do here is if you click this, Lightroom is also, with that profile there, it's going to simulate the kind of look of what that paper would do as well. Not just the profile, but what the paper would make your print look like. Now, you'd think that you would probably tick that every time, right? And you can see here that it's really flattened my image out. I don't actually think that works very well. And I've spoken to quite a few other people since last week when I planned to do this, that the simulate paper and ink, certainly in Lightroom, doesn't seem to have any impact. I've got, you can see now, if I click on that simulate paper and ink, the prints that I sent off, which are, here we go, these ones here, which have come out absolutely brilliant. I did two versions. The first version, I overcompensated because I'd put a little tick where it said simulate paper and ink. It doesn't make any difference, okay? It really does not make any difference. All it seems to do is give you a view that really flattens the image out. So in Lightroom, I may be wrong because I'm not an expert, it didn't seem to work, okay? So I don't generally use that in Lightroom, okay? So I'm hoping that kind of answers your question. So I'm only telling you what works for me. I don't use it. All right, I'm sure there'll be somebody who says they should. So that's the first thing. Now, let's have a chat about these two words, perceptual and relative, because these are really important. Before I mention them though, there's a little thing in the top right hand corner that I'm going to click on. And let me just zoom into that as well. I'm sorry there's loads of zooming in here, but I need to show you this. Can you see this little icon in the top right hand corner of the histogram? It's like a page with the corner turned over. Now what that does, if I put my cursor over it, I appreciate it's going to be very small on your screen, but that basically says show the destination gamut warning. That sounds like Latin, doesn't it? It sounds a bit confusing. Basically what that's going to do is when I put a little press down in there, it's basically going to tell me, I'll be able to see on this preview now what colours, what saturated colours that my laboratory printing lab cannot reproduce. Now, let me just choose a different paper, because on that paper there, nothing seems to be causing it too much of a problem. But let me choose one down here, like this metallic one, and look at the yellow line going down the middle of the wardrobe. Can you see how it's gone red? Okay, so that's basically saying wherever it now gets covered in this red, that is out of gamut. That thing I mentioned at the start. It's out of the range of saturated colours that my laboratory, Loxley, can actually print. So what you can do at this stage, if you think that that yellow is too saturated, you could come into your settings on the right hand side and maybe reduce the saturation, reduce the luminance, all those kind of things to overcompensate for it. But I don't do that. All right, I don't do that. This is what I do. I use these two words here, perceptual and relative. And it's your choice if you use them. Let me just explain what they are. So first of all, let's have a look at this one here. Relative. Okay, so when we choose relative, basically what that's going to do is you're telling the printing process if there are any colors in my picture that are too saturated for you to print out accurately, what I want you to do is find the nearest possible color to it that is saturated and replace it. Okay, does that make sense? So again, just to let you know, what it means is the relative basically means if there are colors in this picture, like the yellow down the middle of that wardrobe there, when I'm using the metallic paper, I'm basically telling Loxley, if you can't print that, choose another color that is so close to it and is still saturated that you can print and put that there as well. The great thing about using the relative mode there is it will only replace the colors that it can't physically print, and it's generally the saturated colors. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now the other option is called perceptual, and let me show you what I've got written down for perceptual there. Now perceptual, what that will do, if we think of the same case scenario, what that's going to do is it is just going to look at the colors that it cannot physically print that are too saturated, and it's going to desaturate them. It's going to reduce the saturation in those colors. The only problem with it doing that as well is that it won't just reduce the saturation in the colors that it can't print. It will also, if you look across your whole picture, it will reduce the saturation in other colors across your picture as well, even those that were perfectly printable by your printer or by your laboratory. Now, by me saying this, you might think, well, relative sounds like the best option then. Why on earth would I use perceptual? Because clearly that doesn't seem the best option. I wish it was that simple. All right, and this is why we've got the option of choosing perceptual or relative. We can click to see what's going to give us the best results, because it very much depends on what the picture is that you're sending off to be printed. Just so that you know as well, by default, the default setting in Photoshop, and I believe it's the default setting in Lightroom as well, is relative. So that maybe says a lot. But again, it's such a huge kind of topic. I stick with relative. It gives me the great results. So I don't want to start playing around with the colors in this particular picture here. I want it to see what it can do and give me the best results by saying, if I use relative, I'm going to choose a color that is very similar to that and is still saturated, and I'll just replace that and only that, nothing else across my picture. So again, I hope that makes sense. I can't find soft proofing in my Lightroom Classic. I'm using Lightroom Classic, Glenn. I'll have a look. It's probably down in the bottom actually here. Let's have a quick look. If I just zoom in, this is a bit of an off-spec question we've got here. Let's have a quick look. All right, okay. So Glenn, just as a quickie, if you can't find it, if you've got that bottom bar, let me just zoom in on here. Can you see this bottom bar just underneath the girl's feet? And you got on the right hand side, there's a little down arrow. Okay. If you click on that, you're going to get a few options: before and after, flagging, rating, color label, navigate, slideshow, zoom. The bottom one there, soft proofing, just tick on it. It should then appear in the bottom left hand corner. Okay. So that's that. So far, are you with me? Okay. So far, you're with me. We've talked about the soft proofing option. Do the side by side, and then you work on the one on the right hand side to make it look as much as you can like the picture on the left hand side once you've chosen your paper. And then when you send the proof copy to the lab, because you've overcompensated with the retouching, when it goes through the printing process, it does its stuff to it and it'll come out looking as near as damn it to the one on the left hand side. All right. All right, so let me just have a quick look at another couple of pictures. So you've seen that one there. Oh, and by the way, what I do is once I've worked on a picture and I've got it to look on the right hand side to look as near as damn it to the left hand side, what I then do is I right click on it and I go to set color label and I choose blue. So all the pictures that I have in my particular library that I'm going to send for printing, they're blue. Okay, and I'll show you why that is in a moment. Let's have a look at another little picture here. I think I've got an example of what this is going to do, because we've looked at a color one so far. Let's look at a black and white one. So we'll go through the whole process again. So we choose your picture. We go to the develop module. Let's just zoom out on that one there. Let's just go to fit like that. Let's just take it from the start again. So we've chosen our picture. we're in the what's that? Mike Williams, good so far, excellent. We're in the develop module, chosen our picture. Then we turn on soft proofing. We know we're in soft proofing now because we get that brighter outline around it. And in the top right hand corner, it says proof preview. Then we're going to come to the bottom left. And again, this is where we choose that before and after. This is just the order that I do it in. Now, you never want to work, I would suggest, you never want to make changes to your original picture. That's like, you know, like we've always been taught in Photoshop, always create a copy just in case. So now what we're going to do is over in the right hand side, because we've ticked soft proofing, the top right hand corner of the screen has changed to the soft proofing kind of workspace. And we have that option again where it says create proof copy. All right. So then we're going to create a proof copy. Now, I don't think I showed this, but when that happens, if I can try and zoom in on it down here, can you see now on the left-hand side, the original picture, on the right-hand side is the proof preview. Those of you who've used Lightroom for a while, you'll know that that's got that little turned up bottom left-hand corner. Basically, it's created a virtual copy. All right, so we're nice and safe. So with that in place, we then literally just come in and we start to choose the paper that we want. And if I just actually just try and get this to fill in just a little bit more, like so, let's get rid of that just there. So nice and big like this. So you can see, I don't know how this is coming out on your screen, but Icc Profiles, the print module, if you edit using the Icc if you'll print as well. I'll come to that in a second, that quick question there. Right. So again, reminder, left hand side, the picture that you've got on your screen, right hand side, the simulated version of what you'll get back from your printer. Okay. So when I look at the pictures on the left and the right on this one here, using the Loxley Colors Luster and Gloss profile that I downloaded, that looks pretty good. The brightness looks great, the detail and the shadows, everything seems to look good. In fact, maybe just one kind of alteration, I think, and again, I really hope this is coming through on your screen. The picture that I've got on the left-hand side, the one that I want to be, the one the print to look like, the right-hand side seems a little bit darker in the jacket, okay? So all I would do, again, is I'd come to this one and think, right, let's just raise the blacks up just a touch. As simple as that, see? So I've just raised it up, so now on my screen, that's looking pretty damn similar. So I've overcompensated on the retouching, send it away, come back, it is gonna look pretty much like that one on the left-hand side. Now let's just choose another paper. So again, we're going to come to Loxley Color Fine Art Cotton. Keep an eye on the picture on the right-hand side, the proof preview. Boom. Can you see how flat it's gone again? Let me see if I can zoom in on that one. Let's just bring that back because it really has gone flat now. Let's just zoom into here. Where's the best way to show you? I don't know how that's going to show. No, that's probably too close. Let's go to 1 to 2. So I'm going to go back to the Luster and Gloss. So there, watch this one over here, so how it's nice and kind of, there's a lot of contrast in there, looks great in the detail. Let's go back to the one here, Fine Art Cotton. Keep an eye on the one on the right-hand side. Again, can you see how it's flattened out? Now with this one here, it's just a little bit different. Let's just fit the screen there. It's a little bit different on this one because his face looks perfect. In both pictures, looks absolutely perfect. It's generally just his jacket to me that looks like it's kind of flattening out because that's where a lot of the really deep shadows are, so it's not looking so good. So this is what I'm going to do. I've talked already about how you can make adjustments. You don't have to do global adjustments. You can do specific adjustments as well. So with the picture over on the right hand side, here we've got the an adjustment brush. So I'm going to choose the adjustment brush and I'll just turn on the masked overlay. Now it's only the jacket that I think if I get this printed, it ain't gonna look so good. I want to bring out a little bit more detail and contrast in that jacket. So all I'm going to do is paint over the jacket. All right, that's all where I want it to be. And I'm going really quickly. Obviously, you'd take your time and you'd brush it off those particular areas there. Let's turn off the mask overlay. And then what I'm going to do here is just maybe bump up the clarity just a little bit. That's looking better. Bring up the shadows just a touch more. And there we go. I'm kind of liking that. Again, I don't know how this is translating onto your screen, but this is just to show you that you don't have to do a global adjustment. There might just be certain areas within your picture that just don't seem to be working as well if you get them printed. There's nothing to stop you using a kind of a localized adjustment with things like the gradient or the adjustment brush, diving in there, making some changes to it so that you know then when you send it away, because now you've got the left and the right pictures looking pretty much bang on, you know that when you send it away, it's going to come back absolutely on the money, no money wasted. All right, so that's that. Right, okay, so let's have a very, very quick break. That's pretty much all I'm going to cover in Lightroom, because there isn't that much more to it. Oh, in fact, hold on a second. I've done my changes. Right, so this is what I was meant to show you about doing the blue thing, all right? So now then, I'm going to press back to my grid view. The right-hand picture is the one that's got the turned up bottom left-hand corner. That's the virtual copy, or the soft proofing kind of copy. Right-click on that one there, and then I'll say Set Color Label, and I'll go to blue. These are just the color schemes that I use. So now when I want to see, right, what have I got to send to Loxley? I've done all the changes I need to do. I click on Attribute at the top of the screen, and then over on the right hand side I'll use the color to flag just there. So now I can see all the pictures that I need to send off. I now export them into a folder, upload to Loxley, and they're done. A couple of days later, they're on the doorstep, and they're looking, where is it? They're looking bang on. Again, not a paid advertisement. This is just Loxley, and I honestly, this is just something that I kind of thought, have I bitten off more than I can chew explaining this? But hopefully this is making sense. Real simple step by step, okay? Real simple step by step. Hey, take a look at the video after it's uploaded. Get in your head, what does relative mean? What does perceptual mean? Do I simulate the paper? Blah, 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 blah. So that's that. Right, let me have a quick break, literally to grab a glass of water before I completely dry up, because my mouth's as dry as the bottom of a budgie's birdcage. Right, I'll just quickly play this, and then we'll talk about soft proofing in Photoshop for those who don't use Lightroom. All right, so just had a quick glass of water. While I'm just quickly slurping that, I was just looking at some of the questions that are coming in here. Now, obviously, as you're looking at this, you might see things slightly different. But, you know, good questions coming in. Somebody, Andrew McPherson's put, seems to be a blue cast on the picture on the right. Andrew, if that's what you're seeing and your screen is calibrated when you're doing your comparisons and changing it, then you would compensate for that. You'd remove that blue. And you can use any of those adjustments on the right-hand side there to get it to look as near as you can to the picture over on the left-hand side. All right, so that's that there. Anything else? With Loxley, do you tick? Brilliant question. Absolutely brilliant. Who actually asked something there? Stephen Thorpe, superb question. For those of you who use Loxley, as you're going through the ordering process, there's a little checkbox that says for them to do color management, or color correction rather. If you're doing this correctly, okay, if you've got your screen calibrated, you've downloaded the profiles and you've gone through this process, do not, I repeat, do not put a tick where it says do color correction. Okay, don't just leave that completely out, all right? Then your pictures will come back bang on. Don't throw another little thing, another little kind of like anomaly into the works there. You've done all you can now to guarantee getting good prints. Let them do the printing, no color management, bang, they'll come back looking brilliant. All right, okay, so right, okay, so let's just close this down. In fact, let me just get some pictures here. I'm gonna send one over to Photoshop. Right, which pictures should we have? Let's have, this is actually a good one to do. I'm just gonna send this one here, my friend Sam with his Harley. In fact, you can't see that at the moment, can you? Let's just dive over to the screen just there. I'm gonna send this picture, my friend Sam on the Harley, over into Photoshop. So we go edit, a copy with Lightroom adjustments, edit. So imagine I've not even used Lightroom. I haven't got Lightroom. All I've got is Photoshop, and I've worked on a picture, and it's now open up in Photoshop now. There we go. Right, okay, cool. Right, so I've worked on my picture. This is now the one that I want to send off. In fact, I really do want to send this one off. I promised Sam a copy of this one. So how can we do soft proofing then in Photoshop? Similar kind of process. So all we're going to do first of all then, when you've got your picture open, first things first, go to Image and Duplicate. All right, so from this menu here, choose Duplicate. And we'll just call this one Proof Copy. Oops, not Copoy. Proof Copy. And we'll click OK. So now we can see the tabs at the top here. Oh, that's a good place to zoom, isn't it? Muppet. Right, so we've got two tabs up here. We've got one on the left, one on the right, Proof Copy and the original. So now what I want to do is I want to have my original picture, the one that I want it to look like, I want that to be on the left, and just like in Lightroom, I want the one that I want to work on to be on the right hand side. So to do that, I click on the tab that will mean it's clicked on the picture, the original picture. Then I'm going to go to the window menu, arrange, and I'll go for 2 up vertical. So like this here. So now pretty much like Lightroom setup. Picture on the left here. This is the picture that I've got on my screen. This is what the original picture. Over on the right hand side here, this is the proof copy. This is the one that I'm going to work on to then send off for print. So once we've done that, here's what else we're going to do. We are going to go to view. Hopefully, if I just zoom in on this one, just so that you can see it. Again, let's just try and zoom in. There we go. View, proof setup. And then the next thing you see at the top of the menu there, it says custom. What we're going to do now is click on where it says, oh, let's just try and come out of there. Why won't it come out of there? Let's just go, there we go. So we go view, proof setup, and custom. And what this will do is it brings up this customized proof condition dialog box. All right. Now you see it says proof conditions. Here is where we've got all the profiles that you've got installed on your computer. All right. So this is where you can choose the papers that you want. And just so that you know, again, people will vary on their opinions of how you do this, but this again is just what I'm doing to give me the results that I'm getting, and I am super happy. I don't tick where it says preserve RGB numbers. That's on advice of Loxley, so I don't do that. The rendering intent, you remember I mentioned about that already. Do we use relative or do we use perceptual? I'm going to keep it set to relative. All right. A little tick where it says black point compensation, and here again we've got that little tick box here, simulate paper color. Now again, I kind of said that I don't use that in Lightroom. I've not sent a print from Photoshop to test this if it does work or not, but very simple. Let's actually just try it with the simulate paper color. So what that's going to do is we've chosen the Loxley color, I don't know how you pronounce this actually, Hahnemuhle William Turner paper, and you can see now on the right hand side that's basically what it's going to do to my picture. So I'm going to click OK. Now then, I need to make the picture on the right look as near as damn it to the picture on the left. So it's gone very flat. The blacks definitely need working on. So maybe then let's have a look here. If I go to something like levels, and if I bring the blacks over, does that work there? No, it's not looking good there, is it? Bit of contrast in that. No, don't like that. Right, so I've got to kind of think of ways now that I could maybe increase the contrast in this picture. So I could maybe just do an S curve, something like that. That's getting kind of there. You could actually take this picture over into camera raw as well. There's nothing to stop you doing that. But you're basically now, I'm not going to go all the way through it because I have to think about this one. All you're going to do is use all those adjustments that you have in Photoshop to allow you to then play around with it to get it as near as damn it. It's a lot repeating here, isn't it? As near as damn it to the picture over on the left hand side. And it's exactly the same process. The one on the right hand side is the one that you then save. That is the one that you then send either to your printer or to the lab that you use because you've downloaded all their profiles. But whatever you do, do not allow your lab to do any kind of color correction because you've done all the hard work. And that, to be honest with you, that's pretty much it. That's what I wanted to take you through. So I hope that has been, it is kind of all over the shop. It does seem quite kind of confusing at times, but I'm hoping in a way that that's brought it down to a real simple level. It's incredibly easy in Lightroom. You can see there, you just choose soft proofing, choose the before on the left and the after on the right hand side, choose your paper and just make some adjustments, and that's the one you send off to the printers. Very simple. So I'm sure there'll be people like Dan Margulis, who is an absolute legend when it comes to color. He would certainly have more to say on this subject because it is such a huge subject, color and printing. But like I said at the very start, all I wanted to do was just take you through. Let me get me nice and big again on here. Let's give you a bit of a fright. Where's my cursor gone? Just there. Okay, so like I said at the very start, all I wanted to do with this was take you through the workflow that I'm using that's giving me the results that I'm super happy with. You will always get people saying you should do it this way, you should do it that way. And I'm not being funny here, but if you're one of the people out there that knows a heck of a lot about color and printing and all the things that go into all that kind of world, rather than leaving a comment in the actual YouTube video here, rather than leaving a comment there, do us all a favor and either record a video or write a blog post. Because if you post it in the comments section of this video, only the people who subscribe to my videos are going to see that. If you post it on the blog, let's share the link out on your own blog. More people will see it. So more people will be able to save some money on their printing. All right, is that a deal? Cool. All right, so that's pretty much it. I will hang around in the. Oh, actually, can I indulge you just for a short while? And I wouldn't normally do this, but I am super happy about this. Let me just dive back over to. Let's go back to my desktop. All right, this is purely me just indulging, and I'm going to bring up. Let's have a look. There we go. You can't really see it on there, but Adobe Max. All right. If you followed me for a while, you'll know that I taught out at Adobe Max this year for the first time. Huge event, 12,000 plus people. Amazing, amazing event. Just the biggest thing I've ever taught at. So well organized, so much going on. I've had an email this evening, and this is just, I wouldn't normally do this, but I'm just super happy about it. I've had an email this evening to say that out of all the instructors that teach at Adobe Max, and there's a lot of them, I've been named as what they call a Max Master, which is named as one of the top 20 instructors at this year's Adobe Max. I didn't go there with the intention of going for that at all. I literally just went there. I'd rehearsed so much on the 2 sessions I was doing. Practice. I went there to do the best possible job I could. Thankfully, I got loads of lovely emails since I got back from there. People saying how much they enjoyed the sessions. And kind of like the icing on the cake is that Adobe have said that I'm one of their Max Masters. So that means I'm going to get an invite back to the one next year, which I believe is in LA, Los Angeles. So I didn't, it's just me, it just indulged me, all right? But I am super, super happy about that. But folks, I'm gonna dive off now. I'll be in the chat room. If there's any questions I can't answer, I'm gonna kind of fire them over to Frank. Check out the description part of the video, and please do me a favor, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and just let other people know about it. And that's pretty much it. What else? I've got nothing else for you. That's it. I'm going to go and have a glass of something really cold after I've been in the chat room. But I'm going to play you this little video. Which one should I play? I'll play this little subscribe one again. I'll bid you farewell, but I'll see you in the chat room for those who are going to be a hang around. Catch you later. Hi folks, Glyn here, just to remind you that if you haven't already, make sure you click on the subscribe button on my YouTube channel, and also click the bell icon and tick in the notifications checkbox so that you'll never miss any of the live broadcasts. That's just a great and free way of showing you like the channel. Also, over on my website at glyndewis.com, click on the newsletter menu item to join my email group and download your free ebook called How to Develop Your Style. Fill in your email address, first name and family name, and then click on the subscribe button. And finally, add me in and connect over on Instagram by finding me with the username @glyndewis.